Alright, so, Sugar Me Saturday, making it a little bit later, only because of the topic we're talking about. So, today's topic was sex and type 1 diabetes. Now, I wish I could say I knew or had a sex life prior to getting diagnosed, but I didn't. I was diagnosed at 17. And believe it or not, I was a virgin up until I was about 21, 22-ish. So, yeah, I have no pre-diabetes sexual experience. All my experiences after being diagnosed with diabetes. But I figured out I could do it from a, injection, a multiple daily injection and then an insulin pump. Aspect. So I didn't get my insulin pump until 2013. But I was diagnosed November 12th, 1998. So I remember the night I lost my virginity. I remember who it was to. We won't discuss all of that information. But I think being on injections, it kind of makes it a little bit easier from the sexual standpoint. So, yeah, I'm gonna get a little detailed. So, sex is if done right, it is exercise. I don't know how else to describe it, but sex it is exercise. So I remember I was a little nervous, only because we had gone out to eat, and then I did have to test my glucose levels and just to make sure they were on point. And I actually remember I went into the bathroom and I tested my glucose levels in the bathroom, just to make sure they were good. And I do remember they were a little high. So I don't know how many people know this, but I was told this by my doctors. If your glucose levels are usually running above 200, 225, exercise is not good because it's just going to bring your glucose levels higher. So I remember my glucose levels were running at about 200. So I did inject extra insulin, even though I was going to be active sexually. Well, I didn't know how active I was going to be. That was my first freaking time. So I really had no idea what I was going to do. But I did know my glucose levels were on the high side. So I did have to give myself some extra insulin. And then I do remember afterwards, after we were done, and I went to the bathroom again and I tested my glucose levels again. And they were doing pretty good. So I was okay with that. But that was pretty much my sex life before my insulin pump. Anytime before I decided I was going to have sex, I would test my glucose levels. And then afterwards, I would test my glucose levels again. If I needed insulin, I would adjust accordingly and things like that. Now, with the insulin pump, totally different experience. I mean, there's still the whole, if my levels are over 200, I will do what I need to bring them down to a normal range prior to engaging in sexual activity. And same thing if my glucose levels are high. Again, not going to engage in any sex because I know that's just going to bottom them out. Now, on the pump, I have noticed that I have to keep sugar everywhere if I'm going to have sex or be sexually, whatever. You guys know this is about sex. So whatever. If I'm going to have sex, I have to make sure I got juice, I got soda, I got cookies, I got crackers, I got everything next to me, by the bed, whatever. I mean, wherever you choose to have sex, we're not going into that aspect. But I'm going to have my sugars and stuff near me because on the pump, I've noticed I will bottom out very quickly when I have sex. And I have had instances where I've had to take a break. Yeah. And, drink some juice, some soda, eat some gummy bears, eat some whatever I have with me. I've had to do that. And I've had instances where after sex and I've passed out well, not pass out. I mean, I've gone to sleep without testing my glucose levels or anything and slipped into a hypo overnight. So I've noticed sexual activity on an insulin pump requires a little bit more. Like, I am on the Omnipod, so I don't have to worry about where it is or anything like that, because it's stuck to me. It's not moving. So anything I'm doing, my pump is doing with me during the whole sexual fun experience and stuff like that. But it's an adjustment. I mean, I don't know how many people think about that when they have sex. Like, okay, before we engage in sexual activity, are my glucose levels where they need to be? And if they not, my glucose levels are running a little bit low, so let me bottom this or guzzle this juice real quick so I can bring them back up into range. Or my glucose levels are a little too high and I can't do any activity, whether it's exercise or anything like that. Like, literally, look it up. If you do any activity and your glucose levels are over 200 plus, your glucose levels are just going to go up. So it's best to just relax and not do anything, which it can kind of suck if you really, 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 really are horny and you just wanted to get it. Look, I said this was about sex. So kind of sucks, but you just give yourself that extra insulin, wait a little bit, and then get to business and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know anyone who has to think about that other than diabetics, because I mean, like I say, we don't get a vacation from diabetes at all. So whether or not we want to get some good love in and get all that stuff done, or we just want to be lazy and things like that, no, we have to test. So that's all I have. I mean, like I said, I'm on a pump, so my pump doesn't get in the way with any of the sexual activities. The only thing that does get in the way for me is the frozen shoulder. So certain moves and stuff may prove to be a little difficult because of my shoulders being frozen. Yes, both of them. But other than that, I mean, other than the testing and things like that, there's not really anything that gets in the way with being a type 1 diabetic. It's just you gotta be on point. I think my worst fear was slipping into a hypo during sex, but I haven't had that happen. But I have slipped into it after sex, and that's the scariest thing, especially if you're with someone who doesn't know what to do. But everyone knows I'm a diabetic. Everyone knows what to do. I usually have supplies with me, so it's not really that shocking of a thing for them and the people that I have been involved with. And, well, you guys know the boyfriend and the hubby and stuff like that. So that's not a big deal now. But before, actually, it never was, because I always let people know, other than my first time, where he did know I was a type 1 diabetic, but I was still keeping everything hidden. And whatever. I grew out of that, thank God. But that's about it. Anyone else who have pre-diabetes sexual experience and then post-diabetes sexual experience? Because like I said, all my experience with sex and diabetes, it's after I was diagnosed. So I never knew anything about sex before I got diagnosed with diabetes. So I can only help you guys of after. And of course, before my insulin pump and after my insulin pump. But anyone else, can you give some information, help out? Is there a difference in, I guess, what sex feels like? Like, was it different before you were diagnosed with diabetes, and is it different now that you're diagnosed with diabetes? Because unfortunately, I can't help with that. But I mean, sex is still amazing. It's just the precautionary methods that I now have to take because of being a diabetic. So let me know what you guys think. Bye, guys.